What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video. And today this will be my ranking of all of James Gunn's five comic book movies from well, not really worst, because James Gunn has never made a bad comic book movie yet. All five of these movies are really damn good, but obviously one of these has to go on the bottom end of the spectrum. So coming in at my number five for me, it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now look, this sequel, obviously everybody still has great chemistry with each other, especially when it came down to obviously like the scenes with Rocket and Yondu. Like those scenes were pretty cool and pretty funny. It was fun. Like the soundtrack is still good. The whole thing with Star-Lord and his dad, Ego the Living Planet, pretty much having Kurt Russell play him. I thought that was definitely a good idea. Of course, you have Mantis brought onto the team pretty much, and and of course you have the whole sisterly kind of pretty much rivalry, pretty much the still going on with Gamora and Nebula, pretty much in the second movie, and there's the totally ending pretty much where she pretty much helps the team, where Nebula pretty much helps to see the team stop Ego, the Living Planet. The whole thing with Star Lord and Yondu at the end, and of course Yondu's sacrifice. That was damn good. That was pretty good, pretty emotional sequence, I will say. But yeah, and obviously all the stuff with Drax and all the stuff with Drax and Mantis and Guardians too. I thought was pretty funny. I thought those scenes were pretty funny and obviously pretty emotional as well when Drax talks about his like how he used to take his daughter and stuff um, to the lake and stuff on his home planet. I thought that scene was pretty dang. I thought that scene was pretty emotional. And of course, the comedy, the humor in Guardians 2 was really funny. Like whenever Mantis touched Star Lord and she said, "You feel love, sexual love for her," and she points at Gamora and Drax just loses it uh, like, "You must be so embarrassed." Like that whole thing was really funny. But But yeah, though Guardians 2, still damn good sequel to the first Guardians movie, and uh, and of course the funeral for Yondu at the end, of course pretty dang emotional. Again, all the stuff with Baby Groot and all that stuff. Uh, yeah, obviously all that was pretty funny, and of course the soundtrack in Guardians 2 still good. So yeah, Guardians 2 for me comes in at my number 5. Number 4 for me is going to be the Suicide Squad. Definitely a improvement over the shitty Suicide Squad movie we got back in 2016. Although again, not all of it was that bad, obviously. I still like, Margot Robbie and Will Smith as Deadshot in that movie. But this sequel was a much better improvement, and just like with the first Guardians movie, taking these characters that me and pretty much a lot of other people had no idea about, and we were like, wait, okay, how in the world are you gonna make characters like King Shark or Polka Dot Man work in this movie? And again, and James Gunn pretty much did. He was able to make characters like King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone, which he was also in the Guardians movies, or Guardians 2 and 3 anyway. But yeah, though, but yeah, I thought that was good. That was pretty cool. I thought it was, and of course, it was pretty funny how like the first team like gets wiped down some of the most goriest brutal ways possible. Like at the beginning of the movie, I thought the whole the whole one-up rivalry pretty much of John Cena's Peacemaker and Idris Elba's Bloodsport was pretty funny. Like obviously when they literally try to one up each other, like who can kill the most, like who can kill the most people, like is it me or you? Like that was pretty funny. Of course, the soundtrack in this movie is really good. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn got some really good sequences in there as well. And the final battle at the end of the movie with the starfish, with the starfish. Yes, again, it's silly, it's goofy as all hell, but hey, James Gunn made it work. James Gunn made it work. Even characters like Redcatcher well, like all of that stuff was pretty emotional with her and her father. Like all that stuff was pretty emotional. So yeah, Suicide Squad comes in at my number 4. Number 3, the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, obviously, this movie pretty much came out of absolutely nowhere for all of us. We had no idea who these characters were. Like, pretty much, we watched the trailer to the movie and we were like, what is this? A talking raccoon? A talking tree? Like, what? Like, what? How in the world are they gonna make this work? And James Gunn pulled it off by bringing together these misfit space characters pretty much, and yeah, bringing them together and making them a team pretty much. Like that was really great. Like for example, literally the beginning of the movie, like literally seeing Star Lord's mom pretty much dying on her own deathbed, like that alone gets you to tears. Like especially if you are a son, and pretty much. By the way, that whole By the way, speaking of which, by the way, I know I forgot to mention it when I was talking about Guardians 2, but that whole plot twist of Ego was the one that killed Star Lord's mom. Like, like that. Like when I first saw it, yeah, it definitely did come out of nowhere. No, it's but again, it was still a little bit surprising, and you were like, wait, what? And obviously, that's what made it. Obviously, Star Lord flip out, and obviously, pretty much kills Ego at the end of that movie. But yeah, that whole plot twist. Anyway, getting back to the original Guardians, bringing all these different characters together in one movie without them having to have their own solo movies beforehand. Again, he was able to. James Gunn was pretty much able to balance all these different, pretty much characters into without having it feel overcrowded. Pretty much everybody gets their moments. Everybody gets their time to shine. Pretty much. And yeah, I know a lot of people didn't really care for the villain of the movie, Ronan the Accuser, but hey, though I thought, but hey, though, but hey, I mean, I like the character as a villain, and obviously the whole thing about with the humor in the movie is real. It's really funny, like pretty much when Rockets needs one of the inmates like prosthetic legs and stuff like that's still really funny. And obviously the whole stuff of with Drax to where he pretty much takes things, like literal, pre- pretty much, where it's like nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. like that was pretty, like that was funny, and of course the scene where Groot sacrifices himself, like of course, that is just emotional stuff that James Gunn nails. So yeah, the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie, still really great, still really good. And again, came out of absolutely nowhere for all of us. We all thought that this would be Marvel's first dud, but no, Guardians was surprisingly really damn good. The first Guardians of the Galaxy. Now these top two were rough, but for me personally, number two, James Gunn's Superman. James Gunn's Superman. I mean, what more can I say that I haven't already said in any of my reviews for the movie? James Gunn's Superman, again, it's the hopeful, optimistic movie that we all pretty much need right now. The David Cornsweet is a damn fantastic Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, fantastic Lois. Nicholas Holt, the most hateable, most evil version of Lex Luthor that we have ever gotten on the big screen. The, the most comic booky feeling comic book movie, like it just go. And thankfully, again, just like with the other movies on this list, it doesn't feel overcrowded like the Justice Gang. Like, do not take away the personal story away from Superman. They're there at the right amount of time, and of course, Mr. Terrific, he was awesome. Guy Gardner Green Lantern was pretty much had that smart ass pretty much attitude that you would want from that version of Green Lantern. And Nathan Fillion played that character to perfection. He even made they even make a joke about the bold cut that Green Lantern has. Of course, Crypto, he was used the right amount in the movie. The action scenes in the movie are badass. They were awesome. Getting to see pretty much all the characters' powers, pretty much, that was great. And again, leaning fully into the comics, where of course you have giant kaiju's and pocket dimensions, Metamorpho, a green baby alien named Joey. Like it's like all out with this stuff. Like, and of course the emotional moments were mainly, of course, the again. I didn't really tear up at this movie or anything like uh, like I did some of his other movies. But still, though, I still thought that scene was still pretty emotional, even though if I didn't tear up with Clark and his father, Jonathan Kent. And speaking of which, I know I didn't really mention this. I really didn't mention this at all in any of my reviews, but I will say it here. The whole thing that they do with Clark's actual, parents from Krypton, the fact that they made them like evil dictators, or kind of like I mean, I kind of did like that. It kind of pretty much does change things up a little bit, pretty much. Plus, I mean, you look at the other versions of Jor-El, and whether it's the Christopher Reeve era Superman movies or Russell Crowe in Man of Steel, and you're like, yeah, they got. I mean, and you're like, yeah, they kind of do got a point. Obviously, sending their Kryptonian son down to Earth to kind of pretty much pretty much in the movie, pretty much they pretty much wanted to um Clark pretty much to um, pretty much rule over the humans pretty much, and like obviously since he was raised by Martha and Jonathan Kent, obviously he pretty much doesn't. So I don't know if that'll ever come. That whole message part of them will come back into play later on as we go further into this new DC universe. But hey, I liked that whole uh, like kind of like evil dictator thing that his parents had, and of course the two big cameos, of course Peacemaker and Supergirl, damn great cameos, and hell yeah, and of course the Engineer and Ultraman were used very well, pretty much side villains for Lex, not overcrowded villains like something like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 or anything like that. No, they were pretty much Lex's muscle pretty much, and of course the identity of Ultraman. I mean, yeah, if you walk in, pretty much, you kind of knew it was coming. Obviously, Lex pretty much cloned Superman, which, yeah, hell, I kind of knew. However, again, it was still pretty shocking though when he took his mask off and you saw David Cornsweat's face. So that was pretty. Oh yeah, all of that was pretty cool. And of course, the comedy in the movie was really funny. Again, all the stuff with crypto, man, and again, not taking away any. He pretty much lets the emotional moments pretty much breathe. And hell yeah, James Gunn Superman for me, my number two. But of course, my number one, I gotta go with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This movie obviously was a damn good wrap up to James Gunn's Guardians trilogy. All the backstory and stuff when it comes to like Rocket's backstory was like incredibly heartbreaking, especially if you are an animal person. And yeah, yeah, obviously you'd see Rocket's animal friends pretty much get killed by the High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary as a villain, is obvious is pretty much one of the more evil villains that you've seen in the MCU. Although he does kind of shout quite a lot like in the movie, but still though I still really did enjoy it. And yeah, he the whole thing with Star Lord and the whole Gamora thing. Now yeah, I kind of wish. Now yeah, I get it. I mean, obviously they pulled that version of Gamora from pretty much 2014, the original Guardians movie, when she pretty much didn't know who Star Lord or any of the other Guardians were. But I mean, obviously they had to bring back Zoe Saldana somehow, because pretty much the actual Gamora died in Infinity War. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that movie, because obviously Thanos sacrificed her in that movie to get the Soul Stone. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff. I mean, all that. I mean, part of me kind of wishes that he took that kind of whole thing out again. It kind of does feel like a little bit of a retread that we did with Star Lord and Gamora, like in the first Guardians movie. It does kind of feel like a little bit of a retread, but still, though, I still enjoy. But again, though, that one little nitpick aside, pretty much, I can still really enjoy this movie. And of course, that ending and of course, the ending again wraps up everything perfectly. Um, all the Guardians pretty much survive. None of them die. Although pretty much going in, you pretty much have your predictions on who might die, who might not die. But no, all the Guardians pretty much made it out of the Guardians 3 alive, which is shocking. I know, right? Shocking, but really damn good. And of course, the ending and all that stuff where Star Lord pretty much lets Rocket pretty much leads a new group of Guardians. That was really cool. And yeah, I know James Gunn had a little bit of pressure when he obviously they had that end credit scene in Guardians 2 with Adam Warlock, and obviously he had to pretty much deliver that here in Guardians 3, which I get all of that, but yeah, you can kind of feel feel the pressure that James must have had when he was like, okay, yeah, I know I gotta put this character in the movie, but so you know what? Screw it, I'll do it. But yeah, Adam Warlock, he was a cool character, and again the ending scene where pretty much all the Guardians pretty much celebrate and dance again brings everything full circle. Pretty much how Guardians One began with Star Lord dancing, pretty, you have Guardians Three pretty much ending, and then of course you have the and of course you have the other part of the ending as well, where Star Lord pretty much goes back home and he pretty much sees his grandfather again. Like that whole thing was emotional. So yeah, Guardians 3 for me, my number one James Gunn comic book movie. Again, did a damn good job at wrapping up all of their storylines from, and ended his version of the Guardians perfectly. If we never see these characters again, I will be. If we never see the Guardians again, I will be completely. I will be happy because James, you wrapped their storylines up perfectly, perfectly in Guardians 3. So yeah, guys, that is pretty much my ranking of all five James Gunn comic book movies from well, pretty much least best to best best. Um, how do you guys feel about my ranking? Do you guys agree or disagree? Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe as always for more videos. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you guys get notified whenever I upload brand new videos and do brand new live streams. With that, I will be seeing you guys later. Peace out.